I'm going to ask you a couple questions, and one of them is going to be probably a harder question because it's something. It's just something I'm curious your opinion on, but I'll wait till the end for that one. And it might not be hard at all. But what's the typical group that you would see come in here? Like, what type of people? Would it be families? Just a single person?
Oh, we have a lot of people who come in that are living paycheck to paycheck, and this is what sort of fills those gaps in between, they may not be able to go get clothes because they got to pay rent, got to have groceries. We find a lot of those. We do have a fair number of grandparents that have had to take over custody of their grandbabies because of multitude of situations. Usually it's legal, and oftentimes the legal part is connected to drugs.
Yeah.
And they're on a fixed income, and so now all of a sudden they've got 3 kids and under the age of 15 that they have to provide clothing for. So we get a lot of those. Work with a lot of organizations that have people who have gone through rehab that are maybe trying to get back on their feet. They come in and they're just, maybe now they have a room, so they don't need all of the household items, but they need clothes to get going on. Or they might every once in a while get some household items because they're anticipating that, and that gives them hope. I'm going to have my own place eventually. I'm going to move beyond this. And so we work with that. We have a fair number that are staying out on the streets or couch hopping.
Yeah.
They don't have a place to do laundry always. So their clothes often get thrown away because they don't necessarily have a place to put dirty clothes. Not sure tonight if their friend's going to let them stay on the couch. Yeah. So they're getting multiple layers to put on. So we see some of that. We see a fair number over 60, limited income.
Yeah.
So, and we have all the demographics because when they sign up with us, they have to give us their birth date and they have to give us their address. So we're able to kind of track that in our database, and we run those numbers monthly so that we kind of know what's happening, if they've had a spike or not. There's some months that we have 300 new people come in, and there's some months where we have 20. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to see the ebbs and flows of this whole. And I can't necessarily say it's because of one thing or another that creates us to have an increase in our numbers. A vast demographic that comes into us.
Yeah, I've never been on the streets, but I have couch top a decent portion of my life.
Yeah.
So and that's it's tough when you're in that position because you don't know if the person's going to change their mind, especially because typically you're not living the best life. So that person might just be like, "Oh yeah, you suck today. Don't come to my house."
And what I find a lot of times with the people who are staying out like that are is they're in fight or flight mode. It's they're just living for that moment. And it's a tough thing with us to start to have a conversation with them because they don't know what in the next hour or 2 hour brings because they might get the text that says they're staying out on the street. So you're having to overcome that as well as begin to talk to them, okay, what do we need to do to make this change?
Yeah. And they can't even be present enough to have that conversation a lot of times probably of like how could we change long term because they're thinking tonight I have to find
get
somewhere
through tonight.
Yeah.
And where am I going to get breakfast in the morning? Yeah. Because there are no organizations that do that around here. Salvation Army opens at around 11:30 for lunch. But then after that, where are you going to go hang out to stay warm? Okay, might be the library. I can go walk around some stores maybe or something like that. Tuesday night, the Presbyterian Church does dinner at 4:30. But there aren't a lot of places for dinner here anymore.
Yeah.
So how are you going to get by on that, which is one of the reasons we usually have a bag lunch to go when we have our choice pantry so that they can at least maybe have a meal later. And then we'll give a bag lunch out today with our hot lunch. And the reason we do that is because there's no place to eat on the weekend. So.
Yeah. Yeah, Barberton, Akron, it used to be anyway you could get a meal if you traveled throughout the city of Akron every day, every meal. I don't know if it's still like it, but Barberton, it's like 2 times a week, right?
Yeah.
Essentially, which makes it tough. What would you, if you had to put a number on how, like not maybe direct effects and like secondary effects of drugs, the people that you're serving are under that category, if that makes sense?
Like,
percentage-wise, like...
I'm sure it's higher than I anticipate.
Yeah. You think like 80, 90%?
No, I wouldn't quite go that high, but I would say probably 50. There's something going on. There's something.
Likely the grandparents that are taking on the kids, the grandkids are, it's likely that's the situation, is the parents are have some sort of drug
or there's
issue.
some sort of neglect issue.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not talking just about the grandparents. It's just I just see it with individuals coming in here.
Yeah.
You know, and you can tell. You can tell.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
They're coming in. Not only is there sometimes the smell, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's unfortunate, and I think part of that is something had happened.
Yeah.
There's something that.
It's triggered that running from.
Yes.
It's usually there's some trauma tied to it.
Yeah.